And welcome back. Kenya and the United States have had cordial relations, punctuated by little spats along the way, mostly relating to the nasty business of stolen elections. But consider how tables have turned after Kenyans online this week pondered issuing travel advisories to the United States, called on Americans to remain calm, and even urged a sitting U.S. president to accept the results of an election. But beyond poking fun, now that the shoe is on the other foot, there are much more serious issues at play. Kenya, as an island of peace in a bad neighborhood, has been underguarded by strategic interests and American dollars. And over the years, American investment in our education, malaria and HIV/AIDS control programs, democracy, the war on terror, and even fighting corruption have played an unmistakable role in shaping East Africa's largest economy. So tonight, we examine what a return to a democratic administration in the United States will mean for our long-standing ties at a time when American influence in Kenya and indeed on the continent is waning. Well, joining me now is Honorable Yusuf Hassan, a member of the National Assembly's Defense and Foreign Relations Committee. And good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Punchline. Now, you lived and studied in the United States for more than 18 years, and indeed you covered the 1992 U.S. election as a journalist. So what is your reaction to the election of Joe Biden as President of the United States, and why does it matter to Kenya? Mheshimiwa?
My reaction is positive. I think it is quite a relief, given the fact that in the last 4 years, the United States has become a different country than the ones that we have been used to, an isolationist country, a protectionist country, run by an erratic, unpredictable president. So it is quite a relief to have a leadership, Joe Biden, who is committed to internationalism, who is committed to establishing relationship back with the rest of the world, coming to power. Although to a certain extent, I would say that American foreign policy doesn't change that much over time, because they're more interested in their interests. But I think for Kenya, I would see that we would be more interested in having a relationship with a president who is engaging, a president who respects Africa and the role of Africa in the world, because President Trump had a very negative attitude to Africans and to the developing world in general. And he was very dismissive of Africa. He made no attempt to engage with African countries on an equal footing. In a way, he considered Africa more like the imperial age, in which Africa was considered a secondary or a lower partner in the global environment, when in fact we've had new powers emerging in the world, like the Chinese, who have much more respect and more understanding of Africa than in the previous years.
But arguably, President Trump treated every country that way, except the Russians, perhaps. But be that as it may, his election, that of Joe Biden, made headline news in Kenya and indeed around the world, when we have our own problems in our neighborhood. You know, there's Ethiopia that is in the making of a crisis, Uganda and Tanzania, whose democracies are all on the line and arguably likely to cause a much more immediate and lasting impact on Kenya. So are we wrong to focus this much on U.S. elections?
Yes, I think we should not focus too much on the American elections, or in any case, issues that are beyond Africa. We should be very much concerned about what is happening in our midst. Africa is a growing power by itself. If you look at the African Union with 55 countries, we have 1.3 billion population. Our per capita now, in terms of economic growth, we would be the 6th or the 7th largest economy in the world if we were keeping our economies together. Right. And if you look at the Africa free trade agreement, which comes into force in January 2021, we will be one of the biggest economic blocs in the world. So I think it is important to deal with our issues. But at the same time, we're not an island. We're part of the world, and we're interested in what is happening around us. And the United States is not a minor power. It's one of the big powers of the world. Of course, what happens in the United States should be of an interest to us, given the fact that we are looking forward to an America which is less dangerous, more stable, more peaceful, more friendly, which would create a more peaceful world for us, and also could act as a partner for Africa in dealing with many of its issues, because although the focus is in dealing with African issues as Africans for African problems, but at the same time, of course, we need the help and the support of countries like the United States, China, the European Union, and that's why I think many of us may have an interest in the American election and how it goes, and particularly at a time when we had an unpredictable, irrational president who was putting the world on edge. If you look at what is happening, the relationship between China and the United States, the protectionist policies that he's introduced, more tariffs on Chinese goods, more tariffs on European goods, and more pressure economically on many African countries of being interested in the winner takes it all.
Where have I heard that phrase before?
Yes.
Right, and no guessing who you'd have voted for if you're American. But having said that, I mean, there are many reasons, and you've outlined them just now, why the world and indeed Africa could frown upon the Trump presidency. He was unashamedly for America first. But in terms of real policy that his administration enacted, did Kenya fare well, augur well, under his Prosper Africa plan?
Well, to a certain extent, we've had a very good relationship with all the American regimes. And to a certain extent, it appears that we have not done badly with Trump, because the American government was willing to engage with us in terms of trade. It was willing to engage with us in dealing with some of the security problems we have in the Horn of Africa. As you have said earlier, Kenya is surrounded by many countries with security problems, and the United States and other multilateral institutions have been in the forefront to assist us in dealing with some of those problems like violent extremism and so on. So we haven't done badly with Trump when it comes to those issues. But it is difficult to have a trusting relationship with someone who does not value you, who does not value what you are, who does not value your race, and also the situation in the United States, how African Americans have been treated. All this reflects on us as a country, as an African leader, as a regional leader. And therefore, I think it is important for us to move on and to see what would happen with Joe Biden. If anything else, I think our relation would continue to be just as good, if not better, because I think the Democrats are much more interested in Africa traditionally than the Republicans, leave alone Trump, who obviously wasn't interested at all in what happens in our midst.
Right.
So I think there is an opportunity for us to build on the relationship that we have with the United States, but build on a more equal relationship. We in Africa and in Kenya no longer want to be treated like a master servant. Africa is not that continent that needs patronizing. Africa is coming to age on its own. It wants to engage with the rest of the world, including the United States, on an equal footing, to be treated equally, and to be engaged respectfully as a continent. So Kenya also is looking towards the new president of the United States to have a better relationship, a more respecting, more trusting relationship than the one that we have enjoyed with the United States and other countries so far.
Right, and let's get in depth on that, because as you're aware, the Trump administration seemed keen on striking a post-AGOA deal. I mean, as soon as now. Can Kenya negotiate on stronger terms now that President Trump's bare-knuckle style will be leaving the White House, or will a Biden presidency simply be the velvet glove for the same interests?
I think it would be very naive to think that, in fact, we could negotiate differently between one administration or the other. I think what is important is to have the goodwill. I think there wasn't that goodwill as far as the Trump administration was concerned towards Africa and towards Kenya. I think what would happen under Biden with with his policies, democratic policies, is that there would be that goodwill. But you would be dealing with the same kind of negotiators. I don't think there would be a much major difference. They would be looking for their interest. We should be prepared. We should have our expertise ready. We should do our homework and be able to get a deal that is good for us, a deal that is good for Africa.
And what would those
that is
interests
in our best
be?
interest.
What would those interests be for Kenya?
Well, Kenya obviously is a commodity producing country. We obviously are interested to export to the United States many of our agricultural produce. We are interested in dealing in terms of our infant industrialization, selling our textile industry to the United States, textile that is assembled and produced here. And in many other areas, for example, being mainly an agricultural country, we like to get the best deal for our farmers and our produce in that market. And this is something that can be worked out by our trade experts who have been dealing with this issue and would continue to be dealing with this issue regardless of what regime is in power.
Right. We now have Brexit looming on the one hand and have seen the America First policy, which you've talked about. Should Kenya be learning in some ways from all this, that countries are in fact looking inward, whether that's a good or a bad thing? They're doing it to serve their interests first. And should Kenya be doing the same? Yes,
but I think Kenya is better off. For example, we are in the East African community. We are a leading country in East Africa. And therefore, we should be working with the East African community on a common ground and strengthening our relationship and working together as partners to deal with many of the issues, security, with trade and so on. So partnership and working together is the best way forward for us. And if you look at our foreign policy, a main pillar of our foreign policy, our diplomacy, is based on building bricks to ensure that in fact we carry our East African brothers, we're working in IGAD, and then going on to the East African to the African Union. What we are doing, for example, in Somalia, we're doing it with the African Union. And with the coming of the All Africa Trade Agreement, we would have the muscle, the necessary muscle, the persuasion and the power that we need by working with Africa as a continent. Together, we stand stronger. I don't believe that we should be going the way of America First or the Brexit. The United Kingdom now stands alone outside Europe, facing serious economic and political problems. If you look at the United States, in the last 4 years of Trump, America has fallen out with almost all its trading partners. Its nearest partners are the European Union. Yet President Trump supported the breakup of the European Union and the departure of Britain from the European Union. Right. And yet America is the architect of the international liberal order. Yes. It is quite bizarre that America, which placed all this emphasis in building together the European Union to face Russia, right, is now in a corner trying to break up the European Union and impose tariffs on the European Union. If you look at the moment in the world, the most powerful country, economically powerful country, is China. The next most powerful one would probably be Germany, which is in the European Union. And this is a country that if America was for liberalization, for opening up, for engagement, would have been an ally of the United States, but in the last 4 years has been kept at a corner by the United States. So we should learn from the lessons of the European Union and the relationship with America to build a very strong East African community, to build a very strong Africa Union, so that together as Africans we can stand and negotiate our way at the international level and have our place at the international table.
And to that point, and as we conclude, indeed, perhaps it should be Africa first, not necessarily Kenya first, but Africa first. Yet here is Kenya pursuing, independent deals with the United States, with Britain. And I suppose that's just part of the way global politics must be played. But be that as it may, we've seen fissures in our relationship with our immediate neighbors, be it burning chicks or exchanging barbs, possibly even, development plans that have stalled. Having said that, it's, down to the wire for President Kenyatta, who was once sort of fondly referred to as Kenya's diplomat-in-chief. But now he is at the end or nearing the end of his term. He has got a big test for the handshake through BBI and a possible referendum looming. And on top of that, a succession election and an economy which God only knows how it will come out of the strains of COVID-19. So should this be a priority, Kenya's relationships with the rest of the world and specifically with Africa as perhaps a new horizon for growth at a time like this?
Yes, of course, because if you look at, even despite all these problems, we have problems with our neighbors, and challenges would be there because every country is looking for its own interest, and therefore what we need to do is to work with these countries for a win-win situation, to make sure that in fact our common interest is what drives our policies and our engagements. And even with those problems, Tanzania remains our largest trading partner. Uganda is a major trading partner. Even Somalia, which is in conflict, is a big trading partner with Kenya. Kenya, as a regional power, can benefit by selling, by dealing with relationship, be it Southern Sudan, be it Ethiopia, be it Uganda, working together through this regional cooperation. And also, in dealing with the world, Kenya cannot stand alone. Of course, we have our bilateral relationships. We would engage with the United States, we would engage with China, we would engage with the European Union, we'll engage with the Middle East. But at the same time, there are periods where you need to work on cooperation, working together in partnership, building friendship, working on common issues, and working for a shared prosperity for the whole of the East African region and for the whole of Africa. There is really what is good for Kenya is good for East Africa. What is good for East Africa is good for the African Union. And so from that context, if we're not selfish and inward looking, we'll be able to build a more fulfilling and more beneficial relationship between us, our region, our continent and the world.
And that's our time. Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan, who's a member of the National Assembly's Defense and Foreign Relations Committee. Thanks for speaking to us, and thank you for watching Punchline. I am Anne Kiguta. We'll continue the conversation online. Use the hashtag Punchline. But for now, good night, God bless, and have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.